Alright, we're going to have a look at how we got from this flat looking daylight scene to this night interior using 3 cheap tungsten redhead lights and the diffusion from the middle of a 5-in-1 reflector. So let's start from scratch. It's afternoon, all the curtains are open and we've got daylight spilling in from multiple directions. There's not really any shape to this light and it's making things look really flat. We'll close the blinds and curtains at the back, the front, and block this light we've got coming through the door with a few layers of black material. In this case we're using black curtains, but there's loads of options for this, including cinefoil, which is relatively cheap. Now we can't see anything, so we can start adding in our lighting. First of all though, let's turn on the house lights and see how it looks. Pretty flat. Everything is kind of blending together and there's not much contrast. But it's always good to make a note of how the lighting that's already there looks, because there might be somewhere you can use it. In this scenario, the light in the back room might be nice as a way to add a little extra detail to the background later on. Okay, we'll turn the house lights back off and turn this lamp on. This is what we call a practical light, generally placed in frame so that whatever artificial lighting we add to the image has motivation for being there. In this case, we're going to use it as a subtle backlight and for some separation between the subject and background, as well as setting the tone for how the shot is lit. Let's add in our first light and see how it looks. The light on our subject is looking way more shaped and interesting now, but the light source is really hard, casting these harsh shadows. So we'll add our diffusion in front of the light. This is looking much better. We could add some more diffusion here, but let's keep it a little more dramatic. Next we'll add a bit of depth to the room by revealing some more of the background. As we checked the house lights earlier, we know that the ceiling bulb in the back room can provide us with a little extra detail. And it's looking pretty nice. We've also got a small hatch into the kitchen back here that we can utilise, so let's use this to add in our second light. This light is aimed through the hatch and across the curtain, which should add a little more interest to our background. It looks good, although a little bright, a little harsh and a little distracting, so we'll clip a little bit of diffusion onto the light and take the output down a bit. That looks much better. There's one more thing that's not quite tying the lighting together, and that's the motivation for our key light. We may have our lamp setting the tone for the scene, but ideally we'd have another practical on this side of the image, representing the source for the light on our actor. Since we're working within limitations, we don't have another practical to add in. However, we can use our third light to solve this problem. By aiming the light at the wall and controlling the spill with the barn doors, we've created this subtle off-camera practical, hinting that there's a light just off frame up here, and giving motivation to our key. As we don't have a fourth light for backlight, let's turn off the bulb in the back room just to add a little more separation between the subject and the background. Nice. You can see how we shifted the feeling of the shot towards something even darker and moodier just by turning off that back room light. It's really cool to see how we got from this shot to this shot to this final shot, just by building things up gradually, and essentially we only used 3 cheap lights.